We begin the news in Nigeria, where Justice Hamza Muazu of the Federal Capital Territory High Court has granted the immediate past governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele's request to travel out of the FCT. The court said Emefiele must, however, remain in the country. On his bail terms, Emefiele was restricted to the FCT. Emefiele, through his lawyer Mathew Bukka, SAN, had requested a variation of the terms. The charge against the former governor of the CBN was also amended to 20 from 6. The amended charges against Emefiele now includes criminal breach of trust, forgery, conspiracy to commit forgery, procurement fraud, and conspiracy to commit felony. In the meantime, the Federal Executive Council has set up a committee to review the laws guiding the control of explosives in the country to determine whether they were violated by illegal miners whose activities led to Tuesday's deadly explosion in Ibadan. Minister of Defense Mohammed Abubakar disclosed this while addressing journalists after the first FEC meeting of 2024 presided over by President Bola Tinubu. According to Badaru, the council expressed worries about the incident and noted the need to avert future occurrences, noting that despite preliminary investigations suggesting that explosives stored by illegal miners may have been the cause, there was also suspicion in some quarters that gas may be what needs to be blamed. Earlier, Fatai Owusheni, the special advisor on security matters to Oyo State Governor, was on the news to shed more light on this development.
The building was also affected.
What led to the explosion? Obviously, we've been, the line that people must have, people living in that area or in the building that the thing emanated, that they must have been stockpiling explosive materials. But as a background, on that day, before 8 p.m., virtually most part of Ibadan, had that bam thing, the blast, which even 10 kilometers away, some people said they heard. And immediately we had that information. I heard from my house, which is like almost 7 kilometers away. His Excellency, as the Chief Security Officer of the state, was the first person that was alerted. And they said he had the same thing. And right immediately, the emergency management, disaster management process kick-started by force deploying security, the Commissioner of Police, the Commander of Amatekun, Director General Operation Boss, the heads of the various military units that we have here. Everyone had moved there, including the GOC. So the first thing was, in disaster management, see how you can save lives, save properties of people, and of course ensure that you secure the scene so that hoodlums will not take advantage of that to perpetrate crimes and put people's lives in danger. That was the first thing that we did.
I'll tell you that Nigeria's federal government has called for an end to ransom payment to kidnappers. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, during a stakeholder security dialogue at the Buhari Area Council of Abuja, following several reported cases of kidnappings in the area, says that the payments will embolden the kidnappers to continue the vice. He assured residents of the area council that government will put every modality to end the scourge of kidnapping in place. Amadin Uyi reports.
The meeting was called at the instance of the FCT administration with stakeholders at the Buhari Area Council of Abuja. This is following the insecurity being witnessed in the council, which has resulted in several kidnappings that has left many residents unsettled.
Buhari Area Council is the closest area council to the city. Buhari Area Council, we are having 3 boundaries of state: Niger State, and Kaduna State, and Nasarawa State.
Security, 'Security' is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government has taken. Security is one of the key priorities that the government The certain things the legal agenda would want to face squarely.
The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike assured of government's commitment to tackling the insecurity situation affecting residents.
My coming here today is to assure you that we are very, very serious. We are very, very serious. All those criminals, bandits, enough is enough.
The minister was also emphatic in calling on citizens to desist from paying ransom to kidnappers. He says the administration will go all out to ensure that they mobilize all resources to end kidnapping.
By doing that, you are not helping us. You are only helping them to begin to make demands that they need 100 million, they need 200. Why would I go and give a criminal 100 million? If I give 100 million, will you not kidnap tomorrow? Then he will tell you 200 million. No. I know it's painful. Nobody will want it. But we can't stop it by telling them that we are going to raise money. There's no money to be raised anywhere.
The Sarkin of Buhari called for more security presence within the council, saying it will help in efforts to restore peace.
Appealing since 2019 and 2020 that we are requesting for mini barrack along the Shere Kawu Iguazi. I believe with you, inshallah, something will be done by the grace of God. Buhari Area Council, we are receiving inflow of people from neighboring states. I'm still appealing to the Honorable Minister that we need area command in Buhari so that it will help us in terms of security aspect.
In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
To further discuss this, I'm being joined by security expert and executive director, Elixir Trust Foundation, Emmanuel Ikule. It's nice to have you around, Emmanuel.
Thank you. Nice joining you too.
Now, the Nigerian government told its citizens to stop crowdfunding to pay ransoms for kidnapped victims. But for these victims, every minute counts. As the spate of kidnapping continues to rise, why is it hard to trace these kidnappers to their hideouts and have them arrested?
The first thing I would say is lack of political will is the first one. If we have leaders that are serious about this issue, then we shouldn't have been discussing this by now because these issues would have been solved in the first place. So when we talk about these things and pay lip service to people's lives every time, and then we come back to claiming that we don't have the tools to address the situation, then there is an issue. If the state has the powers and have the connection to go even in other countries to arrest people, talk more of in the country, how can they not get people? These persons make phone calls. They make phone calls to the family of the victim and ask them to bring money. All this while, and most of these cases, even before they get those phone calls, these persons have already reported to the police. This information has already gotten to the military. So what stops them? Any phone call, if the government is interested in your matter in this country, no matter where you are, you can be tracked. That means in those persons making those calls, if the government or even the police, they are interested and they are serious about it, they will know where these persons are. If they know that at that point they cannot, maybe because of the force or the armory such criminals have, they can work. That is why we talk about synergy with the military, for them to assist them in trying to address the concern. But when every time we'll come out and in press conferences, and those politicians will come out in press conferences and say we'll do something about it. It happened in Kaduna. It has happened to a lot of states, in a lot of states. Since then that they said they have been doing something about it, who has been prosecuted? Who has been arrested and publicly to show that, yes, they have even done something about it at any time? So it shows that they are not serious yet. We have been spending trillions yearly on budgetary allocations from the defense funds and all that, capital projects and all that. If we have drones that can go and kill people in Kaduna where we don't, at an ungodly hour, then why can't these drones also be displaced in areas that they have tracked this phone call?
Now, Emmanuel, let
Once
me come in there. Let me come in there, because when we look at this issue, one will even begin to ask the question, how do bandits numbering about 100, 150 ride on bikes in broad daylight, in some cases wearing military camouflage, attacking several communities with deadly weapons, and there is no intelligence or timely reactionary measure to counter them? Does that feel a speculation that there could be a compromise on the part of Nigeria's security apparatus?
There's always a compromise because they always get intel about these issues. If you check the issue in Kaduna, there was intel already from DSS to the military that there's going to be an attack. And as well as other places, they were already being informed that there's going to be an attack. Some places, these bandits or these terrorists actually submitted letters formally that they are going to attack, and nothing was being done. So it shows that they are not interested in doing anything about it, or they are in support of what is happening. Let's not forget, if you remember vividly, what happened in where some bandits were being freed from the correctional center. Those persons advocated to the government to free their persons, about 1,000. The government relaxed about it, and before you know, they went and freed 1,000 people. That means, just like coups happen, you delay these persons, they work within shift. So you may delay 1 hour to the next shift. So the next person, instead of resuming by 1, resumes by 2. And within that 1 hour, whatever these persons want to happen happens within that 1 hour before the next persons or the next officers on the shift assumes position. So these things have been happening. All this were not happening during the military time because they didn't want to soil their name. But now, because they are not really the ones in charge, they are just relaxing a lot, just without even being accountable on the money spent yearly. If the government is really serious about this, they should start first of all by auditing the monies being used by AMRE, and then the AMRE should be shown clearly, okay, we use this money this year for this, we use this for this. And when issues like this are being reported daily, this has been happening for years. And then if you have no one to show that they are responsible for any of these crimes, and you keep talking to the public that will do something about it, how can the public even trust you for take your word?
Now, Emmanuel, let's take into consideration what the Nigerian government has said. Now, the defense minister said that a government's position was to deprive the kidnappers of profits which drive abduction. So I'm asking you, if ransoms are not paid, will that actually stop the kidnappers from perpetrating their acts?
It won't stop the kidnappers from going ahead, because no matter how we look at it, persons will still find way to source for money and pay. Because one, primarily those families will be at the receiving end. If they fail to bring that money, they lose their families. And guess what? All these persons that have been losing their families, what has the government done to support them in any way? Be it their breadwinners were killed, the government does nothing to support them in any way. So if for countries that have clearly come out that they pay no ransom to terrorists, you see them doing something about it. Is the military trying to tell us that they don't know where or the locations where these terrorists or these criminals are? When they make calls over and over again, is the military or the police telling us that they don't know where these persons are staying? They are aware. They have not denied it. Don't forget, there are some years back when Gumi was going to negotiate what was even called negotiating with bandits. It was the security agent officers that were escorting him to that place. So how can you claim not to even know where they are? And if you know where they are, then what is stopping you from intervening?
Well, Emmanuel, Emmanuel,
You don't intervene.
there might be a new turn in what is to happen, most especially to these kidnappers, because we saw in the footage where the Nigerian police acquired new drones and were demonstrating its operation in public. Of course, well, there were music at the background. So don't you think that at this time there is a call and a deliberate action by the Nigerian police to deal with these criminal elements terrorizing the FCT? Don't you think?
There have been a lot of reports about what have been bought against the quality of what is needed. So we may get old items being used somewhere and to be televised, maybe a little painting or thereabout to be televised to people that this is a new equipment being used, being bought. The question is, how often do we see them using this equipment in the field? It's not when you claim that you got something and it's just like airplanes that we claim that we bought. First, we have not seen it being put into use. It's similar to what we are talking about. If you claim you have bought on armory and yes, this is the armory you bought for this budgeted amount, and you cannot put it to use. One, that means you are first of all not interested, or secondly, you lack the capacity on how to use it. And if you lack the capacity, why not engage persons or engage countries that can actually train you on the skill needed to operate it? Okay. And if you cannot, there are many ways. The Police Act permits the police to get specialists to train them on how to use tools, on how to go even on operation. So if these opportunities are there and they cannot be used to actually tackle these issues of insecurity, that means they are not interested. Because if they are interested, you do something. Emmanuel. If you want to go to, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much for talking to us at this time and helping us to understand the situation better. We appreciate that.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate you too.
You're watching News Central now. We'll go on a short break. We'll be back with more. Don't go away. Good afternoon, Dr. Adeyemi Famous.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Okay, sir, can you please tilt your device up? We need to have a bit of space above your head. No, you need to move your device closer to you, then tilt it up. Move it closer to you.
Okay. Am I fine now?
Yes, then tilt it up. Okay, then you oh boy.
Okay, I think we're ready.
Then you move a bit to your left. Leave your device, you move to your left. Okay. Too much now. Just a tiny bit to the right. A tiny bit. That's fine, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Nice to know you're still there. Now, doctors and healthcare workers at Ekiti State University Teaching Hospital in Nigeria's southwest are on an indefinite strike because of an attack by thugs on Monday. The attackers, who are believed to be connected to a deceased patient, damaged hospital property and attacked staff members after forcibly taking the patient's body. The Ekiti Police Commissioner is investigating the incident, questioning suspects and deploying officers to restore order. However, the residents' doctors insist they will not be ending their strike until arrests are made and those responsible are prosecuted for the violent act. The hospital management has condemned the violence in its entirety and promised to ensure the safety of staff members along with consequences for anyone harassing their diligent workers. And at this point, to further discuss this, I have Dr. Adeyemi Famous, President, Association of Resident Doctors, Ekiti State University Teaching Hospital at Ekiti. Thank you so much, Dr. Famous, for talking to us at this time.
very much. Good afternoon.
Now, there have been typical cases of rejection of patients or poor response time to emergencies by medical personnel. In this case, is there any truth in the accusation that the doctors of Exudes neglected a patient who eventually died?
Thank you much once again. I want to say that the allegation of negligence or late response to this patient in question is untrue, because this patient came in at about 10 a.m. on Sunday morning with a very bad condition, was having hypertensive crisis, diabetes at the same time, overwhelming sepsis. He had gone around the town, many private hospitals. He has seen some quacks. And he has even gone to Aboki, who made a cut on his legs because he was having CKD and had bilateral leg swelling, which Aboki thought that, or which his relatives he stepped on some charms. So he came in as a very bad patient. He was unconscious. We promptly took him to the accident and emergency unit of our hospital. The casualty officer promptly saw and immediately wrote a consult to the medical team on call, who quickly came to review this patient, and the surgical team on call too quickly came to review the patient. But you know, there is a disadvantage at times to when you are trying to educate the relatives of patients who are not educated, who might not understand the information you are trying to. So the doctors try to explain to the relatives the condition of the patient, and they told them that when this patient become more stable, he might need some blood because of the attending had, and the relatives thought that the blood was the very first thing, and they were just patient died because they didn't give the patient blood, and apparently the important treatment line of management have been commenced on the patient, and the patient died within 24 hours of the patient died, I think at about 7 a.m. in the morning or the following day. And they took to attacking the hospital and the health workers.
So we understand that the Ekiti State Police Command has arrested some suspects linked with the invasion. Where are these people now? And what about the doctors that were attacked? Hope the situation was not too great for them.
Okay, thank you. So we want to appreciate the State Commissioner of Police and the other security apparatus, the DSS, and the government of Ekiti State for coming to the rescue promptly. The culprits have been arrested as we speak because they did not just make a way, forcefully go away with the cops. They as well broke into the pay points in the accident side where we collect our revenue, and they made away with some cash, with some money. So that's to tell you they are very bad minds. So they have been arrested as we speak, and they're in the custody of the police.
So,
and we're happy about this.
Okay, doctor, due to the security breach, we hear that the resident doctors in the hospital have embarked on an indefinite strike. Don't you think that is taking things a bit too far, considering the fact that there are patients who need urgent medical attention, and even the suspects have been arrested?
Yeah, thank you. You know, in the face of the citizens, they might think we're taking things too far. But the condition we had then was very unsafe for us to work, because those people promised reprisal that they were coming back, and you know, they were hoodlums who could have come and do worse. It's unsafe and psychologically unstable. And assault against workers and doctors is very, very barbaric. And we have had it oftentimes, at least in the space of 3 months, we have had about 3 of such cases in our hospital, that doctors and nurses were beaten in the course of discharging their duty. They even wanted to attack the pharmacist on duty with machetes. So it was worrisome. So we couldn't continue with our work. We had to go home and see how to save our lives, because safety is a very thing that you have to ensure. Now we thank God because they have been arrested. We had our emergency general meeting yesterday. As I speak, we have suspended our strike and we are back to work.
Dr. Emefiele, thank you so much for giving us a perspective that is needed at this time. We appreciate that. Moving on now, the Nigeria Labour Congress has called on the federal government and other world leaders to engage the United States of America to lift its sanctions on Cuba. The president of the Congress made the call in the nation's capital, Abuja, following the visit of a delegation from the Cuban government who conferred an award on him for his efforts in championing the rights of workers in Nigeria and Cuba, despite age-long sanctions from the U.S. government. Marvelous Obomanu reports.
It has been more than 60 years since the United States government placed economic sanctions on Cuba. Nigeria, during United Nations General Assembly in 2023, joined 186 other countries to vote against the economic and trade embargo placed on island nation. The sanction has continued to receive outright condemnation from across the world, forcing several labor unions to speak out, calling for an end. Trade unions across Africa have also voiced out their position, expressing displeasure at the continued sanctions.
We continue to equally appeal to the Nigerian government and other world bodies to put pressure on the West, especially the United States of America, to lift the ban, economic ban, on Cuba in the spirit of the new global economic order, in the spirit of democracy all over the world, so that Cuba can equally play a role in the global market to ensure that their comparative and competitive advantage, manifests, to the interest of the whole world.
In Abuja, Nigeria's capital, the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, while receiving an award from the government of Cuba in recognition for the efforts played by the union in Nigeria in standing for the rights of Cuban workers, says the Congress in Nigeria will continue to call for an end to the U.S. sanctions.
We will continue to work with the Cuban embassy and the workers there in Cuba to make sure that we ensure a world where all manner of discrimination, where social injustice, social inequity, and discrimination against humanity is eradicated. That's basically why the trade unions are in operation, to make sure that there is equality, from men and women of goodwill all over.
Approved by the government of Cuba for give the Medal of the Friendship to the Nigerian Labour Congress as the President Joe.
For the excellent historical relation with the Cuban trade union movement, as well as for the outstanding participation in the campaigns in defense of the revolution and denunciation of the aggression against Cuba, especially those related to the condemnation of the unjust United States commercial, economy, and financial blockade against Cuba.
While there have been several calls for Cuba to be allowed to join its counterparts around the world to showcase its market to the international community, many here are hopeful that the sanctions will be lifted to allow a new generation of Cubans integrate with the rest of the world. In Abuja, reporting for News Central, I am Marvelous Obomanu.
I'll let you know that Nigeria's Minister of Information has tasked public relations professionals in the country to help drive the campaign to change both local and international perception of the country. The ministry, during the inauguration of the Governing Council of the National Institute of Public Relations Professionals in Abuja, made it known that Nigeria is suffering from a poor reputation deficit which is affecting the country immensely. He urged members of the institute to find a practical public relations approach to this problem and help project the renewed hope agenda of the current administration.
Challenges of our great country today is what could be termed as reputation deficit. This, of course, is caused by a wrong perception about Nigeria, both within and outside the country. This is a sad phenomenon, my dear professional colleagues. Therefore, we must find a practical public relations approach to reclaim our damaged reputational asset as a country. Other nations have also their difficulties, but the difference is in how these issues are managed and how they are approached by especially the leaders of those nations. The NIPR should design, in conjunction with government, communication strategies that would drive the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed.
Talking about capacity building, law graduates from Yobe State, northeast Nigeria, may now have the opportunity to proceed to the Nigerian Law School in a more relaxed manner. May Malabuni has awarded scholarships to 221 of them who graduated from various universities across the country. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the reports.
Scaling through the university system in Nigeria's northeast that has gone through activities of terrorists remains a story in itself. Gathered here at the government house in Damaturu, the Yobe State capital, are graduates of law from different parts of the country. They are here with their loved ones to receive support to continue with their education at the Nigerian Law School. Yobe State Governor flags off the exercise aimed to alleviate the financial burden on the deserving law graduates, many of whom faced numerous challenges throughout their education due to financial constraints.
I have been in the law school and I have witnessed many states of the nation that are not sponsoring their young one.
Year in, year out, Your Excellency, you have offered this scholarship to law students and to all other Yobe indigenous of tertiary institutions across the country.
It has not only brought support to the parents of these students, but it has also propelled Yobe State to another level.
The smile on their faces and that of their families speaks volume of how the benefiting law students are feeling with the intervention.
As you are aware, this administration places a high premium on quality education from the basic foundation through the tertiary and professional courses such as law, accountancy, and medical sciences, among others. This explains why our government has been consistent in providing conducive environments in our schools through reconstructing destroyed and dilapidated schools and establish new ones.
The benefiting law students are urged to pursue their studies with renewed vigor and commitment to justify the confidence reposed on them.
I wish to reassure you that this administration will continue to be consistent in awarding scholarships to qualified Yobe indigents in tertiary institutions, both at home and in foreign institutions across the world.
As these law graduates embark on their legal careers in the law school with a solid educational foundation, it is therefore the expectation of all to witness the positive impact they will undoubtedly make in Nigeria's judicial system and beyond after the program. In Damaturu for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Staying in West Africa, Sierra Leone's judicial authorities will allow former President Ernest Bai Koroma to travel abroad for medical reasons despite his indictment over his alleged role in a coup attempt, his lawyer said on Wednesday. Koroma, who led the West African nation from 2007 to 2018, was charged earlier this month with treason and other offences over what authorities have called an attempted coup on November 26. According to his lawyer, Joseph Fitzgerald Kamara, Sierra Leone's High Court said Koroma would be granted bail to travel to Nigeria for an unspecified medical treatment. He had been scheduled to appear for a hearing in the case on Wednesday, which has now been adjourned until March 6. Visiting Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Togolese Foreign Minister Robert Dussey have pledged to enhance strategic cooperation between the two countries in their joint effort toward modernization. The Togolese foreign minister reiterated that Togo would always stand firmly on China's side, adhere to the One China principle, and support China in safeguarding its sovereignty and territorial integrity. On the spot, Wang said China and Togo have set an example by treating each other on an equal footing and fostering mutual beneficial cooperation. And this relationship has also become a symbol of China-Africa solidarity and friendship.
La Chine et le Togo ont une longue histoire de coopération fructueuse. Et aujourd'hui, nous avons l'occasion, vous et moi, grâce à leur excellence et le président Fort de Sassine-Nyasimbe, et bien sûr du président Xi Jinping, l'occasion de la renforcer pour témoigner du rapprochement entre Beijing et Niamey.
非洲应该走独立自主、联合自强的道路，应该把非洲命运掌握在非洲人的手中。在非洲发展振兴的历史进程当中，中国始终是非洲兄弟姐妹们可以信赖、依靠、长期的战略合作伙伴。
We still have more stories for you at this hour. Do stay with us. We'll be back after this short break. The news continues in East Africa, where Somalia's foreign ministry says there is no space for mediation with Ethiopia unless it retracts its deal with the self-declared Republic of Somaliland. The comments come after the African Union's Peace and Security Council called for restraint, saying Somalia's sovereignty should be respected. The January 1 agreement between Ethiopia and Somaliland that raised the possibility that Somaliland would lease part of its coastline to Ethiopia has angered Somalia. Somalia, which considers Somaliland as part of its territory, called it an act of aggression and described the deal as illegal. But I'll tell you that a Kenyan court in the coastal city of Mombasa has charged the leader of a starvation cult with terrorism over the deaths of more than 400 of his followers. Court documents show self-proclaimed Pastor Paul Ntenga McKinsey and 94 other suspects pleaded not guilty to charges of radicalization, with the cult leader also charged with organized criminal activity. Authorities say McKinsey ordered his followers to starve themselves and their children to death so that they could go to heaven before the world ended. More than 400 bodies were uncovered over months of exhumations across tens of thousands of acres of forest, making this one of the world's worst cult-related tragedies in recent history. Still in Kenya, we tell you that local media say a bomb tied to a donkey cart has exploded on the Kenya-Somalia border, killing one police officer. We understand that 2 other people were injured and the 2 donkeys pulling the cart reportedly survived. Police officers were inspecting the goods on the back of the cart just after it had crossed into Kenya at Mandera, which is in the far northeastern part of the country, when the bomb went off. Video said to be from the scene shows thick black smoke rising from where the explosion happened. Pictures of the aftermath show a scarred donkey standing up. Mandera has in the past been targeted by the Somalia-based Al-Shabaab group. And elsewhere, Ugandan security forces have blockaded the homes of prominent opposition politicians ahead of a planned protest in the capital, Kampala. Both opposition leader Kizza Besigye and former pop star Robert Kyagulanyi, popularly known as Bobby Wine, say that security forces surrounded their homes, preventing them from leaving. Besigye shared a post with photos showing several security forces obstructing the entrance to his home. 2 government critics have asked Ugandans to go ahead with the planned protest on Thursday to demand the government to fix dilapidated roads. Police have vowed to block the demonstrations, saying that protests organized by the politicians have never been peaceful and will disrupt a key summit underway in the capital. We also tell you that the government of the Comoros Island has ordered an overnight curfew after the police and the military clashed with protesters angered by the re-election of President Azali Assoumani. Opposition parties have called for the poll to be declared void, alleging fraud. Tear gas was fired and demonstrators burnt tires and barricaded roads on the streets of the capital, Moroni. Protests were also reported in other towns across the Indian Ocean archipelago. An unspecified number of people were reportedly arrested during the protests. A government spokesman accused the opposition of disturbing public order. The United Nations has appealed for restraint. On Tuesday, the Electoral Commission, CENI, announced that Asomani had garnered 63% of the vote in Sunday's ballot to secure a fourth term as president. Away from the African continent, we tell you that Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba has stated that his country's objective for 2024 is to regain control of its airspace as Russia's full-scale attack approaches its third year. His remarks at the World Economic Forum in Davos came just hours after Russian drone and missile attacks injured 20 people in Ukraine. Kyiv has long called on the West to provide modern fighter jets to support its forces stationed in the country's south and east. According to Kyiv, the Russian strike included 20 Iranian-designed drones aimed in southern Ukraine, but its air defense systems destroyed all. Earlier, William Els from the Institute for Security Studies joined us to speak more on this.
Ukrainian aircraft are actually grounded at the moment. They fly very often that they are not in the air because of the superiority that is in the sky and is being dominated by the Russians. And the reason for that is the Russians have got much more modern aircraft where their radar systems can see them much further. So that means that the Russians can actually operate outside of the range of the current air defense systems of the Ukrainians, and they can launch their missiles from there. And also every time that one of the Ukrainian aircraft that are very dated, when they take off, the Russians can see them and they can take them out without them.
A prosecutor investigating the dramatic live broadcast armed assault last week on an Ecuadorian television station has been shot dead. Ecuador's Attorney General Diana Salazar, who confirmed the incident, said organized crime groups, criminals and terrorists will not stop government's commitment to the Ecuadorian society. The murder comes amid a surge in violence in the once peaceful South American country, which has become a hub for the global export of cocaine from neighboring Colombia and Peru. The government last week declared war on powerful drug gangs, who in turn threatened to execute civilians and security forces and carry out a wave of attacks that have left about 20 people dead.
De nuestro compañero César Suárez, fiscal de la Unidad Nacional Especializada en Investigaciones contra la Delincuencia Organizada Transnacional en Guayas, voy a ser enfática. Los grupos de delincuencia organizada, los criminales, los terroristas no detendrán nuestro compromiso con la sociedad ecuatoriana. Continuaremos con más fuerza y compromiso. Hacemos un llamado a las fuerzas del orden para garantizar la seguridad de quienes nos encontramos en el cumplimiento de nuestras funciones y al Consejo de la Judicatura para que autorice que las audiencias que conoce la UNIDOT se desarrollen de manera telemática, de forma que podamos alcanzar los objetivos que nos hemos planteado.
Talking sports now, the AFCON 2023 tournament has started in Ivory Coast, and now, as goals are being scored in the various stadia across the West African country, businesses are also thriving. At least, traders selling merchandise related to football in Abidjan markets are smiling to the bank. Incidentally, some of these traders are from Nigeria. News Central's Favor Itoa visited one of such markets and found in this report.
During the Nations Cup in Abidjan, Nigerian businesses in the bustling Ajame market thrived amidst the football excitement.
Since from the starting of this tournament, there's really a difference into the business, particularly me. There's a lot of difference. The things we are selling like 10,000, in this tournament, we have a lot of profit.
The market, known for its diverse offerings, witnessed increased activity as football enthusiasts sought merchandise and memorabilia.
If not the frustration our government is giving us over there, business in Nigeria is far better than over here. But because of exchange rate now, we are trying to come over here with Nigerian goods so that we can sell it in their own and get their currency and go back to Nigeria and have enough naira.
Nigerian traders seized the opportunity by providing football team products, food, electronics, shoes, tapping into the favor surrounding the tournament. Collaborations with local vendors enhanced the market's vibrancy, creating a unique fusion of Nigerian and Ivorian cultures.
Many people from the country or other countries came here because of this football, and I can say that this time will be better than the other one.
Overall, the experience in Nigerian market showcased the resilience of Nigerian businesses, highlighting the ability to navigate dynamic market conditions and capitalize on major events.
Many other neighboring countries, even foreigners, they came here, and since they came, there is changes because I do sell more than I said before. I do sell now more than I said before. The business moves faster now.
It also fostered cultural exchange and collaboration, contributing to a vibrant and mutually beneficial economic environment during the Nations Cup. In Abidjan, Ivory Coast, for News Central, Favor Itwa.
And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we take another look at some of our top stories. Court has granted former CBN Governor Emefiele permission to travel out of Abuja. Somalia has urged Ethiopia to retract Somaliland deal. We also told you that 6 suspects have died in a Nanda shootout with police in South Africa. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. And you can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Likon Nobanjo.